Discover the incredible truth, how 100 people found hope and changed their lives in a week. In the heart of a cozy Midwestern town where family loyalty thrived and hard work was a badge of honor, Sarah felt the weight of the world crashing down. Just a week after losing her job at the factory, the very lifeline of their family, her savings poured out like sand through her fingers. The panic set in, a tightness wrapping around her chest every time she glanced at her children's faces. Her 8-year-old son, Tommy, and 10-year-old daughter, Lily, deserved better. They didn't understand the struggles looming over them. Each bedtime story began to feel like an escape from a reality that now felt too heavy to carry. Then came a flyer about hope in 1 week. It fluttered onto Sarah's porch one morning, filled with tales of resilience, hard-earned triumphs, and the promise of community. But fear snagged at her heart. Sharing her vulnerabilities felt impossible, like exposing fresh scars for the world to see. Still, with determination igniting within her, she decided to dive in, longing for a hint of fresh air in their suffocating routine. As the days unfolded, the town transformed. Veterans spoke of honor gained through sacrifice. Teachers shared their ambitions for brighter tomorrows even in the classroom chaos. Artists painted murals that seemed to breathe life into every neglected corner of the neighborhood. Each story ignited feelings of hope, their shared experiences echoing like a warm song, reminding everyone that perseverance was their gift, the very heartbeat of their identity. But then, out of the blue, Sarah's estranged father appeared, stirring long-buried emotions. Anger flared within her at his audacity to seek forgiveness when he had abandoned her family years ago. Their reunion felt like a rough storm brewing, rattling the foundations of her crumbling world. The next day, as the initiative hit its stride, dark clouds rolled in, unleashing a torrential storm that sent everyone scattering. It was chaos. Trees creaked ominously, winds howled like restless spirits, and people rushed to help their neighbors, lending hands in the face of adversity. It was a beautiful mess, true American spirit shining bright in the dark. Sarah rallied alongside them, her heart racing, her voice trembling. Maybe, just maybe, together they could turn the tide. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the rain pounded relentlessly, Sarah climbed atop a crumbling step. The townspeople turned towards her, eyes wide with anticipation. "We can't let fear rule us anymore," she cried, her voice cutting through the storm's roar like a beacon. "We deserve better, a chance at justice for every one of us." In that moment, the crowd surged forward, united with her fierce resolve. Hearts beat like drums in the rain-soaked chaos of the evening, hope coursing through their veins. The storm became a metaphor, shaking their foundations but revealing the strength in unity. Yet within Sarah lingered the heaviness of unresolved feelings, the forgiveness she sought from her father hanging in the air, refusing to settle. As the sky began to clear, a new dawn loomed, casting long shadows of uncertainty and lingering questions about family loyalty, and finding her voice amidst the storm. Could she really ignite a movement that changed everything for their community? Would she reclaim her own worth or let the past capture her? The answers hung just beyond the horizon, waiting to be discovered. In the days that followed the storm, Sarah felt an unexpected shift in the atmosphere of her town. The sun broke through the clouds, illuminating faces that now wore expressions of determination instead of fear. Each person she encountered seemed to carry a spark of hope, a collective heartbeat pounding with purpose. It was as if the storm had washed away their insecurities and doubts, leaving behind an urgency to make things right. Sarah took every opportunity to connect with her neighbors. Their stories flowed like the freshly fallen rain, pouring out shared struggles and dreams invested in their community. She found herself laughing alongside Mr. Jenkins, a retired veteran, who sheepishly admitted he'd never planted a garden until now. They discussed how small acts could lead to monumental changes. "You know, Sarah," he said, his eyes twinkling, "transforming this place starts with roots literally and metaphorically." As they strategized on ways to beautify their streets, Sarah felt invigorated. The commitment they displayed caught fire in her heart, each plan becoming an ember in the warmth of a new beginning. They imagined community gardens bursting with flowers, sidewalks decorated with murals echoing stories of resilience. She wasn't just a voice in a gathering, she felt a tidal wave of strength within her, an incubator for change. At home, the children thrived amidst the hope that enveloped them. Tommy was proud to share his new pet project, a lemonade stand dedicated to raising funds for local families in need. Lily, ever the artist, rallied her classmates to paint encouragement on the fence that bordered the battered park. Their laughter, their joy, it reminded her what she was fighting for, a life where she could lift her family beyond hardship. But even as the community thrived, the unresolved tension with her father loomed like a storm cloud on the horizon. Sarah was torn. Would opening her heart to him lead to healing, or would it simply reignite old wounds? As she sat in her backyard watching her children chase fireflies, she knew this was a crucial moment. Faced with her father's shadow, could she let go of the past, or would holding on shackle her to bitterness? That evening, driven by a mix of anger and curiosity, Sarah made an unexpected decision. She drove to the diner on Main Street, where her father was known to spend time, his worn face reflecting years of regret. As she entered, the clattering of dishes fell silent. Heads turned, eyes widened. The tension squeezed her throat. But something inside her forged ahead. She spotted him sitting at a corner booth, fingers wrapped around a cup of coffee, and the sight sent a wave of memories crashing over her, the laughter, the abandonment, the unanswered questions. With every hesitant step, she felt more alive, thoughts swirling like the smoke curling from the diner's grill. "Dad," she finally breathed. The weight of that single word echoed in her heart, igniting both fear and hope. The silence stretched as he looked up. Recognition and a flood of emotions crossed his features. What would follow? Did forgiveness await, or was it just the start of another storm? Sarah's heart raced, the possibilities teetering on the edge. As she settled into the booth across from him, their past felt alive in the air between them, waiting for the first words to break through the silence. Would their conversation spark reconciliation, or would it only deepen the divide? In that moment of uncertainty, everything felt suspended. What revelations lay on the other side of this encounter, and could they navigate the turbulent waters of their shared history? Sarah braced herself, the unknown stretching before her like the storm clouds that had just passed. The silence clung to them, thick and heavy, as Sarah sat across from her father, the cup of coffee steaming between them like a barrier. She studied his face, the lines etched deeply by years of regret and weariness. He looked older, frilier than she remembered the shadow of the man who had once towered over her as a child. "Sarah," he finally said, the sound barely more than a whisper, but it carried a weight that pulled her toward him unknowingly. "Why didn't you come back?" The question burst from her, sharper than she intended. The anger bubbled beneath the surface, ready to spill over, but mixed with a keen desire for understanding. She needed to know why. He swallowed hard, and she could see the struggle playing out in his eyes. I thought you'd be better off," he admitted, almost shyly, as if the admission itself was a painful truth. "Better off?" She shook her head in disbelief. "I needed my father." The words felt raw as they sliced through the air. She wished she could pull them back even as they left her lips. His gaze dropped. "I never meant to leave you." I thought. His voice trailed off. "I was running. From everything. From my mistakes. Those mistakes hurt us," she pressed, her heart pounding in her chest. "They hurt me." A tear slipped from his eye, leaving a glimmering trail as it fell onto the table. "I see that now. I was a coward, Sarah. There's no excuse for it." As the confession filled the space between them, the tension in her chest eased slightly. Maybe this was the beginning, a chance to explore a new territorial landscape where they might find their way back to each other. But doubt crept in alongside the hope. Could she truly forgive him? Just then, the diner door swung open and in walked Mr. Jenkins, his face brightened by the sun filtering in from outside. He waved cheerfully, oblivious to the emotional storm brewing in the corner booth. "Hey, Sarah. I was just talking to Mary about that mural project." The distraction momentarily broke the tension. Sarah glanced back at her father, who watched Mr. Jenkins with a combination of curiosity and something that looked like longing. "What project?" he asked, new light igniting in his voice. "I'm working with the community to paint the old park fence. We want to tell our stories, celebrate our hopes." She felt a spark of excitement. "Sounds good," he murmured, but the way he was leaning in showed she had caught his interest. Sarah saw this as an opportunity. Maybe through community efforts, they could forge something new together, a partnership starting to take root. "It's about connecting, Dad. It's about healing," she said, hoping he would grasp its importance. "I'd like to help," he replied, his voice steady. Her heart fluttered. Was this the path they needed? The road toward mending what felt irreparable? Really? He nodded slowly, and they both fell into a moment of shared recognition. Perhaps the past didn't have to dictate their future. But the fear still pulsed in the air. What if this was simply another false hope? Suddenly, a rush of laughter broke in from the nearby booth where Tommy and Lily were innocently engaging with their new friends. Their joy cut through the heaviness in the room like sunlight breaking through clouds. "Sarah!" Tommy shouted, the carefree spirit of a child stirring her heart anew. "Yeah? Can we help paint the fence too?" Lily chimed in, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "Yes. That's a great idea, sweetie." Sarah smiled, seeing the potential unfolding. Yet, she caught her father's eye, nervousness nipping at her heels. Even amidst the joy, she felt herself teetering on a tightrope between hope and uncertainty. As they shared laughter over plans for the mural and the upcoming fence painting, Sarah realized reconciliation was only the beginning. Behind the surface, deeper layers awaited to be explored, fears and dreams alike, hidden beneath old hurts and new connections. What if the truth is in those colors we paint? She pondered silently, feeling the weight of that thought settle in her heart, but back at the booth, her father's expression remained unreadable. What truths still remained unspoken between them? Deep down, she wondered if unveiling those truths would either bind them or break them further apart. As she watched the children frolic joyfully, she sensed the fragile hope blossoming amid uncertainty. Could this be the start of healing, or would it somehow lead her back into darkness? The future began to shimmer with possibility, but everything still hung by a thread. The diner buzzed around them, but all Sarah could focus on was the shifting landscape between her and her father. As Mr. Jenkins wrapped up his excited explanation, a soft smile breaking across his face, Sarah felt her father's gaze return to her, intent and searching. His vulnerability hung in the air, fragile as glass. "Do you really want to help?" she asked, her voice steadying, yet laced with hope. "I mean, participate? Be part of this?" "I want to," he stumbled over the words, more earnest than she'd heard him in years. "If it means being closer to you, I want to try." The weight of that statement held a bittersweet sting. Could this promise of collaboration open the door to deeper conversations? The what-ifs swirled around her mind, but for now, she pushed them away for the chance to build something together. "Great." Sarah's smile widened, a genuine glimmer of excitement pushing through the fear. "The first meeting is next week. We can sketch our ideas and see how we want to tell our stories." "Stories," he echoed, a distant tone in his voice as if he were staring into the past rather than the present. Tommy and Lily continued to chime in with ideas from their nearby booth, the sound of laughter livening the air, but Sarah felt a twinge of sadness mixed with hope. Was it too late for her father's story to change? Mr. Jenkins turned back towards them, excitement radiating off him. I've got some great ideas, too. We can incorporate themes of community, family, and healing in our mural. It can be a reboot for all of us. Sarah's heart thumped at the word healing. The longing to break free from the shadows of their past tugged at her like the spring breeze drifting through the door. She glanced at her father, whose expression began to shift from apprehension to intrigue. Let us meet before it all starts, Sarah suggested, determination swelling within her. Make our foundation stronger, Dad. He pondered, nodding slowly. Okay. Just then, a couple of older patrons behind them entered the conversation. This mural project sounds like it's going to be something special for this town. It's what we need. One of them said, a kind smile dancing across her face. That's exactly it. Mr. Jenkins replied, affirming the older woman's spirit. For the first time, Sarah recognized that maybe her father's return could be about more than just them. Maybe it could ripple out, touching others too, igniting hope beyond their shared pain. Dad, Sarah leaned forward. Can you tell me what you hope to achieve from this? What it means for you to help? He hesitated, his brow furrowing as if the words were locked away deep inside. But at the same time, there was a flicker of resolve in his eyes. I want to reconnect, I want to show you I care, and I want to share a piece of myself back with you. Her heart swelled, and the tension from earlier began to melt away. Here was a crack in the armor, a glimpse of the man who might still be buried under the weight of his choices. But as the conversation shifted back to Tommy and Lily's art ideas, Sarah felt a flutter of uncertainty. She couldn't fully grasp what showing he cared meant, or if his past would ever not shadow their new beginning. Would tomorrow bring more of this hope, or another plunge into the dark? Are we doing this right? Sarah asked herself, the hope still labeled fragile in her mind. The diner, once a backdrop to memories of loss and longing, felt renewed with possibility. But alongside that hope, doubt still clung like a curtain. If they didn't address the past properly, how would the future unfold? Just as laughter erupted again from the children, another thought crossed Sarah's mind. What will happen when we begin to paint? What will be unveiled then? The question settled heavily as warmth swirled in the air. Could color bring clarity? Or would it unearth buried truths that were better left sealed? In this moment, they were teetering on the edge of revelation, and she couldn't help but wonder what truly lay beneath the surface of their stories. The sun dipped low in the sky, casting a warm glow over the little town as Sarah stepped out of the diner. She felt lighter somehow, as if the weight of uncertainty had shifted just enough to allow room for hope. She glanced at her father, who lingered behind, a shadow of thought brewing behind his eyes. Are you coming? She called, holding the door open. Just a second, he replied, his voice thick with nostalgia. He glanced back at Mr. Jenkins, who was clearing the table, chatty and animated as always. Together they walked to the car, the world bustling around them, but the space between Sarah and her father felt electric. She longed to fill that magnetic space with questions, but her mind swirled with doubts about how to begin. Would he falter? Would he retreat behind old walls? As they settled into the car, silence enveloped them. Sarah squinted into the sunlight filtering through the windshield, willing herself to take the leap. Dad, I meant what I said back there. I really want to share this process with you. I know, he said softly, his eyes on the road ahead. But I'm not sure what I bring to the table. Just your honesty, she suggested, feeling the tide of vulnerability rising again. Your story is part of my story, and it matters. His fingers drummed nervously on the steering wheel. You might not like what you hear. Try me, she said, her voice steady. We can keep working through this, step by step, together. A moment of amplified stillness hung between them. The sun blazed low in the sky, pooling liquid gold over the horizon. Her father's shoulders sagged a little, and he turned to her, apprehension etched in his brow. I've made mistakes, Sarah. Really bad ones. Yeah, I know. But it's not about those mistakes now, she said, digging deep for courage. It's about moving forward, creating something beautiful together. A hesitant nod followed. Okay. They drove home through familiar streets, each landmark stirring memories trapped in the walls of their silence. A playground where Sarah had laughed as a little girl, the park bench where her father used to sit with a coffee and his thoughts. Each turn unfurled the past, but Sarah concentrated on the present, unfazed by the ghosts of yesterday. As they pulled into the driveway, her heart raced. She wasn't sure if they would still resonate together, but a flicker of excitement pushed the doubt into the background. Let's brainstorm some ideas tonight. We could start with shapes or colors that mean something to us. Her father smiled faintly, retreating into thought. Colors like blue for calm, red for courage? Yes. Exactly. She beamed, bouncing in her seat. What else? Minutes trickled by as they exchanged thoughts, filling the air with color and warmth. The tender connection sparkled anew in the dimming light, and Sarah felt a sense of trust knitted between them, strengthening with each word. Suddenly, her phone vibrated, breaking the moment. It was a message from Mr. Jenkins reminding them about the meeting, which triggered another wave of anticipation. Are you ready? Sarah asked, tilting her head toward her dad as they climbed out of the car. He paused, absorbing the question. Ready for what? To see what we can create. Together. It's just the start. She stared into his eyes, longing for more than just painting walls. But we can't start painting until we know what we're ready to face. He blinked, his expression tightening as if she had just unsealed a wound. I'm scared, Sarah. What if what comes out isn't enough? The question hung heavy in the air, laced with fear and possibility. She could feel her own heartbeat quicken, echoing the tremor in the ground beneath her. What if it's everything? She countered, a soft resolve pushing through her uncertainty. What if we discover something wonderful? As they walked toward the porch, the faint sounds of laughter floated to them from the neighbors down the street. Sarah wasn't sure if her father was ready for what was to come, but she knew she was ready to try, even if it meant risking another heartbreak. What awaited them in the depths of their histories? Would they uncover a treasure of memories, or tread through unknown pain? As they stepped inside, the lingering question remained, what revelations would the mural truly unveil? The front door creaked as they entered the house, the familiar scent of home wrapping around them like a warm blanket. Sarah paused in the hallway, the walls a canvas of their life together. Each picture frame held moments frozen in time, birthday parties, family vacations, the day they brought home their golden retriever, Charlie. Where should we start? Sarah asked, glancing back at her father, who seemed lost in thought, shadows deepening around his eyes. I don't know, he murmured, standing still as if the weight of their conversation pressed him down. What if I can't show you what you want to see? Maybe we just need to draw it out, she suggested, feeling the spark of inspiration teasing her mind. Let us start simply. Draw what you remember or feel. He blinked at her, uncertainty flickering briefly in his eyes. You really think that'll help? Definitely, Sarah replied, her pulse quickening. It's like when you're a kid. You grab some crayons and lose yourself in the colors. No pressure. Just let it flow. A soft exhale escaped him, and he walked over to the small desk in the corner, cluttered with old papers and the remnants of forgotten projects. He rummaged through the drawers until he pulled out a pad of paper, the edges slightly frayed, and a box of crayons, dusted slightly but still vibrant. As her father settled at the desk, Sarah took a seat beside him. They glanced at each other, small smiles stealing across their lips. In that moment, perhaps both were quietly discovering that this was their first step into a world they had kept at bay for way too long. What color should I use first? He asked, apprehension still clouding his voice. Let us start with blue, she suggested, the one you mentioned before. Calming, right? He nodded slowly and began with sweeping strokes that brought the crayon to life against the paper. Sarah felt a rush of pride. It was a small action, yet it felt monumental, a quiet promise to explore the spaces between them. As the blue section grew, she picked up green, layering it beside his, a representation of hope, growth. See? We're building something together. He glanced sideways, a small spark of intrigue igniting in his demeanor. What if we did a sun up there? Sunshine! She exclaimed, her heart lifting. It could represent the new beginnings. Under her urging, he reached for the yellow, filling the corner with a glowing sun. They continued back and forth, their banter flowing rhythmically, each stroke revealing pieces of themselves hidden beneath years of silence. As the scene unfolded, it was impossible to ignore the presence of laughter drifting in from outside. The next-door kids were playing a game of tag, joy spilling out into the evening air. It reminded Sarah of simpler times. That used to be us, huh? Running wild, carefree. Her father paused, the crayon hovering just above the paper. Yeah, those were good days. His voice softened, and she sensed a crack opening in the hard shell around him, something that flickered with nostalgia and a hint of longing. What about right here? She pointed to an empty space on the paper. This can be the garden, where we planted flowers together after your promotion. His expression shifted, memories churning in his eyes. I remember that, he murmured. I hated gardening at the time. I didn't realize how much I needed that connection. It's okay, she encouraged, digging deeper. We can paint the flowers how we want them now. Big, bold, beautiful. The brush of vulnerability began to illuminate her father's face like the warm hues spreading across the paper. With each memory shared, the pains of silence seemed to fade into colors of understanding, but just as the warmth began to form a bridge between them, Sarah's phone buzzed again, this time more insistent. She glanced at the message, her enthusiasm deflating slightly. It was Mr. Jenkins, asking if they'd be ready to discuss their mural ideas at the meeting the following day. Ready or not, tomorrow is here, she thought as she looked back at her father, feeling the weight of imminent deadlines alongside the promise of transformation. Dad, no matter how this goes, we'll find our way through, she reassured him, her heart thumping with a mix of hope and apprehension. He nodded slowly, but the uncertainty remained, unspoken. What truths would tomorrow's meeting reveal? Would they find the courage to share their art with the world? As they finished coloring, a question echoed in Sarah's mind: what other layers lay beneath the surface waiting to be uncovered? The sun dipped low in the sky as they finished their artwork, stretching shadows across the room. The paper was filled with swirls of blue and green, a joyful sun shining brightly in the corner. It was a vivid representation of their shared moments, but beneath the colors, unspoken words lingered, waiting to be voiced. Look how beautiful it is, Sarah said, admiring their creation. Just like us, right? Bright and messy, but full of life. Her father chuckled softly, the sound like a distant bell. You always had a knack for turning everything into lessons even while coloring. She smiled but felt a twinge of uncertainty. I wish everything was that easy, especially tomorrow. He leaned back in the chair and ran his fingers through his hair. It's scary, you know? Putting our ideas out there. What if they don't get it? What if they don't see what we see? She considered his words, the weight of them settling heavily between them. But what if they do? Silence lingered, thick and laden with possibility. She could almost hear his heart beating faster, echoing her own unease. What if they think my ideas are too old-fashioned? He finally admitted, his voice trembling slightly. Then we show them the new, the fresh, Sarah urged, her heart racing as inspiration sparked anew. We bring layers of colors, the life we still have. It's about sharing our truth. No one can take that away. He gazed at her, searching for conviction, perhaps looking for a part of himself he hadn't felt in a long time. You make it sound simple. Because it can be, she replied, passion lighting her eyes. Tomorrow, we'll create memories just like we did tonight. When you put yourself out there, you're inviting others to share in your story. Her words hung in the air, a thin thread weaving through uncertainty, stitching patches of hope together. With a sigh, her father focused on the drawing. You're right. It's just colors and stories. If I can share a part of myself, maybe they'll see the beauty too. Yes. Sarah said, feeling the tide of resolve wash over them. Let us just be us. Let us make them feel what we feel. Outside, the children's laughter echoed again, bright and innocent. For a brief moment, it pulled her father's attention away, a spark of longing passing across his features. They're so carefree, he mused, a wistful smile tugging at his lips. It's good to hear laughter again. In that moment, something clicked within Sarah. Maybe we can bring that same spirit of joy into the meeting. Let us paint our ideas in a way that brings that laughter into their lives, too. He turned back to her, a slow smile spreading across his face. Yes, like that sun. It's bright, it's bold, and it warms everything around it. As they sat, feelings blooming between them like the flowers they had once planted, there was a sense of anticipation pulsing in the air. A rush of possibility surged within Sarah. What if we incorporate the story of that garden, where we found joy in the dirt? She suggested, a new idea igniting her joy. It could symbolize growth, everything we both have been through. Her father nodded, his eyes sparkling with renewed belief. Yes. It's more than just colors, it's our journey. People seeing our garden can even show we've cultivated hope from the hardest times, he replied, his heart sounding more resolute. In that shared moment, Sarah felt something shift deeply. She wasn't just uncovering her father's memories, she was rediscovering their shared strength. But as the weight of tomorrow loomed, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that the true challenge lay ahead. The uncharted waters of vulnerability awaited them, and she wondered if they were truly ready to dive in. Would they stand tall together when the critics rose to meet them? Could they face the uncertainty that shared dreams might unleash? Tomorrow loomed large, its unknowns heavy, and as her heart raced, Sarah took a breath. What awaited them in that room as they unveiled their colors to the world? The morning dawned with a soft light filtering through the kitchen window, waking Sarah from sleep. She rubbed her eyes, glancing at the clock. It was earlier than usual. Her heart raced as she thought about the meeting ahead. Today. It was finally here. Faint sounds of sizzling bacon filled the air. She shuffled into the kitchen to find her father flipping pancakes, their sweet aroma filling the room. Good morning, sleepyhead, he greeted, his smile brightening the early hour. Morning. She mustered up a smile, but her stomach twisted with nerves. As they ate, Sarah attempted to focus on the breakfast spread before her, yet her thoughts drifted. Do you think they'll really connect with our ideas? She asked, her voice quieter than she intended. Her father paused with a forkful of pancakes suspended in midair. They will if we let them in. Remember, it's all about being open. His words soothingly wrapped around her like a warm blanket. She nodded but knew it wouldn't be easy. Each bite was heavy, thick with the weight of unanswered questions. Would they truly understand the journey they had painted together? She could almost hear the echo of doubts in her mind. After breakfast, they prepared, the atmosphere charged with anticipation. As they gathered their artwork, she felt a spark of excitement push through her anxiety. Every stroke tells a story, she said, echoing her father's earlier words. Yes, he replied, his eyes glimmering with pride. And today, we're not just sharing our work, we're sharing ourselves. On the drive to the meeting, silence filled the car, but it was not an uncomfortable silence. Instead, it felt like a shared breath, both of them encased in emotions too vast for words. The landscape blurred past, flashes of green and brown as trees rushed by. Once they arrived at the venue, a small gallery tucked between two bustling cafes, Sarah's heart thundered in her chest. She stepped onto the polished floor, a stark contrast to the bustling life outside. It was quiet, almost reverent, but the stillness buzzed with potential. People began to trickle in, each face a mixture of anticipation and skepticism. Sarah could hear their whispers and shuffling feet, a cacophony of opinions mingling. Her father took her hand. "Just like the garden, remember? We're all growing here today." With his reminder, she felt the warmth seep back into her bones. They set up their artwork, the vibrant colors bursting into life against the white walls. Each piece was a reflection of their hearts, layered with their struggles and triumphs. As she stepped back to take it all in, a wave of uncertainty rolled over her again. Would they feel the love woven through the colors? Then came a voice cutting through her thoughts. "Wow, look at that." A young woman gestured toward their piece depicting the garden. Tension melted. Sarah watched as the woman leaned in closer, examining the details with wide eyes. "Do you see how it shows transformation? Like those plants breaking through the dirt?" "Yes. Exactly." Her father responded, a huge grin stretching across his face. A small crowd gathered, their curiosity pulling them together. Sarah felt her chest swell, her father's words from the morning echoed in her mind. They were letting people in, and maybe, just maybe, they would understand, but as she stood there, surrounded by shared stories, an unexpected knot twisted in her stomach. What if just one comment shattered this newfound hope? The daunting question loomed, threatening to unravel everything they had built. As conversations flowed, laughter blended with shared insights. For the first time, Sarah began to believe they could connect through their art, but would they be prepared for the honest reactions that might emerge next? Leaving her wondering, what awaited them in this open space filled with strangers? Would their stories resonate, or would silence speak louder than words? A warmth spread through Sarah as conversations began to swirl around her. Each laugh, each shared sentiment acted as a balm, soothing the tightness in her chest. People were moving closer, eyes sparkling with interest as they engaged with the vibrant colors, drawn in to explore the deeper meanings behind her and her father's work. "Do you see those colors?" someone said, their voice bright with enthusiasm. "They remind me of a garden I used to have." Sarah turned to catch the speaker's gaze, a woman in her mid-30s, her hair tied up in a loose bun. Her eyes glimmered with a rare mixture of nostalgia and excitement. It was wild, just like this piece. The woman laughed lightly, and Sarah felt a thread of connection weaving between them. "Thank you. That's exactly what we wanted to capture," Sarah replied, her own voice gaining strength. The almost forgotten passion began to rise within her as she shared her vision. She listened intently as the woman detailed her memories, her life, stories blooming in a garden of words. For a moment, the outside world faded, all that existed was this shared space filled with hope. Sarah realized that every story carried layers, each person present had their own colors to paint the canvas of life, but not every reaction was warm. Sarah's heart raced when she noticed a group of people lingering near the back of the gallery, their expressions unreadable, arms crossed defiantly. Whispered critiques floated over the crowd, sharp and cutting. "I don't get it," one voice murmured, and Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. Her father, ever perceptive, seemed to sense her unease. "Remember, not everyone will see the beauty," he whispered, squeezing her hand. "But that's okay. It's not about them, it's about us." A knot tightened again in her stomach. What if they only saw flaws? What if the message they poured into their art was lost in translation? Just as she thought she would drown in her doubts, a little boy approached, his face smeared with remnants of chocolate. "I like the bright colors," he exclaimed, grinning broadly. His innocence shone like sunlight breaking through clouds, and Sarah couldn't help but smile back at him. "Thank you. Do they remind you of something special?" she asked. That he nodded vigorously. "They remind me of my mom's garden. She grows flowers that look just like this." Joy flooded Sarah. In that moment, she understood the art was connecting in ways she couldn't control. It didn't have to resonate with everyone, it just had to mean something to someone. Just then, her father stepped forward, engaging another couple nearby. "Let me explain the story behind this piece," he said, his voice full of warmth. Sarah watched as his passion ignited sparks of interest and curiosity, pulling the couple closer. But then came a soft voice from the corner, one that chilled the warmth rising again. "How can you create something so beautiful when the world is falling apart?" It was a woman, her tone heavy with skepticism. The crowd shifted uneasily, and Sarah's heart plummeted. Was she truly supposed to answer that? How could they explain the light they chose to paint in such a dark world? The knot in her stomach tightened, threatening to choke her once more. Just as her father turned to face the woman, Sarah realized she couldn't retreat into silence. Perhaps now was the moment to dig deeper. With every ounce of strength, she took a step forward, her voice trembling but resolute. Because even in hard times, there is always a garden waiting to bloom. Would Sarah find the right words to reach this woman? Could she convey their truth and hold on to the blossoming hope surrounding her? The air was thick with an anticipation that felt almost tangible, and all eyes turned to her, ready for whatever came next. As Sarah spoke, her heart raced with a mixture of fear and determination. Even amidst the storm, life finds a way. The sunshine breaks through the clouds, and flowers push their way through the dirt. She paused, searching the woman's eyes, looking for something: understanding, empathy, connection. That's what our mural represents. It's about resilience and finding beauty even in the darkest times. The crowd held its breath, the weight of her words hanging in the air like the tantalizing promise of rain after a long drought. She could see the skeptical look of the woman begin to soften, a crease of uncertainty mixing with contemplation. It's a reminder that, while we can't control everything, we can choose how to respond, Sarah continued, her voice growing steadier. We can nurture hope, plant seeds of kindness, and watch as they grow. The murmurs around her shifted from hushed criticism to quiet contemplation. She felt her father's hand slip into hers, a strong anchor beside her as warmth spread through the room. "Life isn't always a beautiful garden," her father added, stepping beside her, "but in every fight, every tumble, you learn something new. When you create together with love, you can turn even the hardest moments into beautiful memories." The energy in the room began to change, faces brightening with reflections of shared stories, shared struggles. "A garden is a community effort," Sarah said, her voice rising, "and so is life. We grow stronger when we care for each other, when we lift each other and share our burdens." A ripple of understanding spread through the audience as they slowly began to nod, accepting Sarah's passionate plea. The little boy's smile glimmered in the background, and that joy seemed to light the gallery. A woman from the back spoke up. "You're right. Just like in nature, we all bring something unique. It's the diversity that creates beauty." A whisper of agreement echoed through the crowd. Excitement surged through Sarah. Her heart soared as she realized they were bridging the gap of doubt. "Exactly," she said, grasping the momentum. "We all carry different experiences, but when we share and come together, we can build something powerful. Much like how flowers bloom differently but together create a stunning bouquet." The crowd began to engage, voices blending into a symphony of ideas and stories, the whole gallery now pulsing with hope. People talked animatedly about their own journeys, how they found beauty amidst hardship, exchanging tips on how to nurture their personal gardens in life. Her heart swelled. This was a moment Sarah had dreamed about: honesty, connection, and healing flowing freely amongst her community. As laughter echoed, Sarah caught a glimpse of her father's face. It was alight with something new: freedom, perhaps. "See?" she whispered to him, "it's not just us anymore. This is our community opening up, thriving." The energy in the room crescendoed, transforming from mere onlookers to a vibrant tapestry of humanity. Each soul shared a thread, creating a quilt of collective promise that spoke to something larger than themselves. It was real, it was alive. This was what they had longed for: connection.as. The meeting wound down, people gathered around their mural. Fingers traced the bright hues, smiles exchanged with an intimacy crafted through shared experience. The doubts that had hung heavy before evaporated into the laughter and camaraderie, leaving space for a new understanding of hope. Sarah felt a tear slip down her cheek, but this time, they were tears of joy. She leaned into her father, surprised at how easily he wrapped his arm around her shoulders. They stood united, lost in the flourishing beauty around them. "Thank you for being here today," she said softly. "You've shown me that we truly can start anew." Her father nodded, a smile gracing his features. "No more holding back. We're ready to embrace what lies ahead." As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow across the town, they knew the journey wasn't over, it was just beginning. But they were ready. Together, they would face the world, lawn by lawn, heart by heart, and Sarah understood now, their story wasn't merely one of healing, it was one of community, of transformation, and above all, hope. This moment was theirs. Don't wait another second. You need to subscribe now to be part of our journey in discovering more incredible transformations. Leave a like now to fuel our mission of hope and inspiration. It helps more than you know. Your laughter, your stories, your reactions matter, so comment below and tell me how you feel about this uplifting ending. And remember, share instantly with at least 5 friends who need to feel that spark of hope. This is the moment to show your support for stories that truly matter.